Okay, yeah. So it will be about AI Miro and the many ways it can help you improve your workflows. And this is very relevant for us in the MOJ because we will very soon probably be getting our own AI Miro, and I will pass on to JJ to tell you a bit more about that.
Yeah, guys, as Immerso said, just a quick announcement. We are rolling out a Miro AI pilot program for all colleagues who currently have full Miro licenses. So I will be posting a link to a Microsoft form in the chat at the end of Stephen's talk, and we'll also circulate this via Slack later today in various channels. So if you are interested in participating, which I'm sure everyone will be after this session, please fill it out or feel free to message me on Slack at JJDaily or email me. At the email, I'll post it in the chat later on as well to find out more and get involved. Just my personal plea. That's my bit done. Thank you, Immerso.
Thank you, JJ. Okay, so for our speaker today, we have the pleasure to have Sampson Jones with us. He's a senior partner at TPX Impact. He's an expert in visual facilitation, agile coaching, user-centered design, delivery management, and he has extensive experience working in and with the public sector. And he will be talking to you all about AI Miro and how you can use it to improve your productivity and creativity. So over to you, Stephen.
Oh, amazing. What an introduction on a Friday morning. So thank you so much, everyone. I've also got Jess Ferguson. I'm sure Jess is on camera waving frantically at you. He's also a senior partner. So yeah, tag teaming it up today. And yeah, and it's really exciting that you're launching this pilot. Like, it couldn't have gone any better for a sort of segue into myself. So I'm still, oh, sorry. Perfect. Yeah, I'm assuming everyone can see my screen, like John and Mer. So can you just give me a yes, no before I crack? Amazing. Get that awkwardness out of the way. So as you can see, that this is me from, I think Jess, you called out as Baby Steve. So from 2027, when was this? 2017, I think it was. So as you can see, working in government keeps you youthful, if I don't say so myself. So I've been a public sector and consultant since 2007. So yeah, it's great to see lots of familiar faces on the call I've either worked with or met at David Lloyd's. There's a few people that said that they were going to join, even in my own social life that work at Modge. So yeah, really excited to be here today. I'm not an ambassador for Miro by any means, but I am one of their community champions. So I do a lot of publishing Miroverse templates. Like, I think last year I won their best retrospective. So you can see all of my templates and work on the Miroverse. I think they're all in here. So if you literally just type my name in, you'll probably see some of the stuff that I do. So when I'm not drawing, I love facilitating, and I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks today on how to use Miro AI, which is this little button in the corner. But before we get interactive and hands-on, I'll show you some of my sort of tools of the trade, as it were. These are the type of things we're going to cover. So how you can take pictures of post-it notes and transfer them onto your board within seconds, generating mind maps and flowcharts, being able to analyze sticky notes rapidly, generating images, creating user stories, and how you can use some of the Miro AI features to build board games for the team social events, which is quite good, rapid prototyping, and my favorite, visual thinking. So I almost feel out of my comfort zone not getting people to draw today, which is unusual for me. So yeah, no pens at the ready for those that have seen me speak previously. So I've got a little icebreaker just to get people warmed up. I'm hopeful this isn't going to be the graveyard shift. Got a good turnout. It's Friday morning. Everyone should be caffeinated. And this was an icebreaker that one of our sort of design leads, Tash Wilcox, who is awesome, you should follow her, showed to me, and I just loved it. It was medieval snows, and in terms of, how are you feeling today and energized for this talk on this scale from sort of 1 to 9. So feel free to use the chat function to put the number that most resonates with you. What I would say, I'm not going to take questions throughout just whilst I'm presenting, so I'm not looking at the screen. So use the Q&A for questions, use the chat feature for bants. I'm sure Jess will pick up that whilst I'm driving the screen. But and yeah, and as I mentioned, so Sean, like, I would have been like, oh, I want one of those backgrounds, but now I realized that one of my favorite Pokemons was probably built off of medieval snails, just for top trick. But yeah, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn if anyone recognizes this Pokemon, send me a LinkedIn message, and yeah, we could do some sort of one-to-one Miro or agile coaching or user-centered design thinking or visual thinking, anything that I talk about. Happy to jump on a call for an hour if you can tell me this. Fastest one wins. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over to Jess very quickly just to talk about TPX and what we are, where we work on in MOJ, and why we might look familiar before we go into Miro AI features. So over to you, Jess.
Cool. Hey guys. So as Stephen said, I'm also a senior partner at TPX Impact, and I work in central government, and I also work in the health sector. And before TPX, I was also at the British Red Cross for 5 years, and before that, I worked in various different heritage, arts and culture and heritage charities. That's the best way to describe it. And actually, I am currently working in MOJ at the moment on MOJ bail applications. Actually, today is my final day, so I actually have our alpha playback right after this call. Super exciting. So you may have seen like a couple of TPXs hanging around or chatting with you. And what we do at TPX Impact is digital transformation and change, predominantly working across central government. And as I mentioned, you know, we do a lot of stuff with MHCLG, we do a lot of stuff with DBT and DCMS, DEFRA, etc. And we're really about creating positive change. And all of everyone who works at TPX is really passionate about driving like policy change, like changing the lives of end users, and really making a great impact in the world. And we were born about 2.5 years ago, so lots of different consultancies came together. So we're a pretty fresh organisation, but lots of transformation across our legacy organisations. And I'm going to throw it back over to Stephen, who is going to have some fun on Miro.
Amazing, thank you, Jess. That's us. It'd be great to connect through LinkedIn, or feel free to reach out and via email. Me and Jess have put our details in the chat at the end. I'm conscious I don't want to bore people on AI principles and ethics. Like, I think every speaker's done a wonderful job this week articulating that far better than myself as a mere facilitator compared to an AI expert. But I would recommend people have a look at, I'm sure it sounds like Louis and the team that are piloting Miro. So all of these tips and tricks should be really relevant. But there's a Miro AI white paper that's published last July, which is really good. It's about 14 pages, but it's well worth checking that out. Just seeing if there's any other bits that you want to know or what's being used with your data. It's kind of linked to their sort of legal information on what they're doing with it. So it's all in the open. There's nothing dodgy in there. I would say there's a bit of a perception I found within government on Miro that it's a Russian tool. It's not. They're all Dutch based. But all of that information, if anyone's got any concerns, well worth checking out those documents, which again, I'll send a link. So Miro published essentially the 4 principles in that paper. So it saves you a bit of bedtime reading. Is building transparent models around accountability, establishing trust, still enabling to have human control. So I typically use some of the features that I'm going to show you as a bit of a Kickstarter or more conversational, just to help me unlock some of the thinking, and all around sort of fairness and equity. In terms of some of the AI projects I've worked on at TPX and recently, so I think one of the coolest ones, we've got a tool within HSBC where people can interpret HR data and ask it questions. It's essentially ChatGPT before ChatGPT was ChatGPT, and I think they're looking to integrate that with Microsoft and Copilot, which is really exciting. Done a bit of work in the Home Office on deepfake AI and what the sort of negative impacts that could make. So for instance, like if there's a deepfake video of a policeman doing something they shouldn't. So again, that was quite interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jess, we're actually building an internal tool that we can use with particular data called Impact AI. So it should be interesting. So that's some of the bits I've just sort of flirted with, I guess, over the last year. Some of the sort of main learning points and lessons for me that no tool is a one-stop shop, can be biased, and oversight is required. So please remember that as I'm showing you some of these tips and tricks. So let's start. So pens at the ready. I think this has all been recorded. if I drive a little bit too quickly. And I love this one because how often is everyone either fully remote or fully in the office? So if you're doing any sort of hybrid facilitations like retrospectives or design sprints, or any type of mapping activity that involves people in a room and people on a Miro board, you normally end up with a picture like this, right? And Miro AI can save a little bit of grief. So rather than having to physically go in and spell agile wrong on a call with 100 people, you can literally take a picture of that image. If you go to this little plus button on the tools and go to Sticky's capture, so this should be enabled out of the box on Miro. Click that, it should work. Where are we? Desktop. So upload your image. There you go. And it recognizes all of the borders using like optimal sort of character recognition. So obviously we don't want that one because it's got someone's hand in the way. So again, this is kind of where the human control is needed. There you go. It's missing Kanban. And what it will do is that it will take all of these words that it's recognized, all of the text, and it will add it to your board. So you literally click add to board on that sort of call to action at the bottom. And there you go. So much more rapid. You can imagine how much time this has saved me over the last couple of years, just being able to do this. And also what I quite like about it, so if you were using a particular sort of color theory that, maybe yellow is frameworks or pink is roles in this case, it recognizes the same color palette and uses it on your board. So that is a really nice little feature. Not a lot of people know, and it always frustrates me when I see people doing it manually. So hopefully no one's come across that before. It only uses English text at present, so unless they've rolled out like a new iteration of this. So for instance, if you work on any Welsh language services, for instance, it wouldn't work. So that's just something I've learned the hard way. So there we go. So that's the first top tip, sticky captures. Like I said, plus button, type in sticky capture at the top, it's there, click it, upload, and select your images. The only other caveat on this is sometimes, eyes look like L's, maybe look like one. So sometimes you might, again, it's going to need that human eye, but on the whole, it should be much, much quicker for you. So you can do an absolute ton of things with sticky notes. So I've got a load of dummy data here. So this is like a rough type of example of survey data at the bottom and user insights from user research in yellow at the top. Like this would typically take 2 to 3 weeks to analyze, even with like having an entire user research as a team sport, as a methodology, and a sort of principle within the team. It's going to take a long time, right? Being able to cluster these, affinity sort, gather the insights, do a bit of synthesis. So I'm going to show you a few tips. Also with Miro, if you hold the shift key, it allows you to select all of the objects. So like so, I'm just going to copy them over here, just to keep it nice and clean. So there's a few different ways you can use Miro AI here. So the first one is on the top left with Create with AI. And then the second way, again, if you hold the shift key, select, on your toolbar, you get this little purple magic box, Miro AI with little stars in. So click that. And there's a few different things that you can do. The one that I probably use the most is cluster by keywords. So for instance, maybe if I just use these bits here, just to keep it a bit quicker, cluster by keywords. And what it will do is it will do a rapid infinity sort for me. So like so, move that out of the way. Obviously you can see there's a ton of data here, but it just really gives you a bit of a kickstart to say, okay, well, there's plenty to do for this particular visit. What we use is generally saying they enjoyed this. Here's all the sort of positive, generally okay feedback. People were satisfied. So it's a really, really quick way of just being able to interpret this data. And typically I use this quite a lot in projects, just for giving us a bit of a springboard in terms of clustering by sentiment, and then we can kind of dig in and identify themes a bit more generally. So that is well worth its weight in gold, I've found anyway. Just delete that because it's going to be in the way. There we go. Cool. And then the other thing that it can do, so again, we've still got about like 1,000 post-it notes, I think is around there. You'll see it from here. 849 objects it's got selected. So again, there's two ways of doing it. I can either click the Miro AI on the top left or click it here. It'll provide a research synthesis for me. So I'll show you that here. So click on document, research synthesis. So if you're a user researcher or a designer on the code, I'd be interested to see your thoughts on this, Nicola, at the end. But generally, it does do a really good job just as a rapid look. The team are going to take a week or two generating the insights, doing the themes, establishing the user needs. But just as a quick, here's the high level themes that we can see. It does a really good job. So it provides the goals of the study, it's interpreted, it gives us key insights. It's provided recommendations from the users based off the survey, and it's given us suggested next steps. So it's a really, really quick way just to interpret data and be able to sort of generate some ideas with your sticky notes. So that is really cool. There's a few other bits. I'm just going to delete this one. So this was one that I made Neil Buchanan style earlier. So Miro AI can also generate mind maps, and I use this a lot when I was doing a lot of my Scrum.org certifications and my Agile coaching qualifications. So I use it as a bit of a learning aid. And I'll show you how. So if you click on Create with AI and diagram, so we'll have a mind map in this instance. So flowcharts are really good for, so if you take that storyboarding with AI tool the other day, or you've got like logical steps, you can literally put that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and create a flowchart, which is quite nice. But I'm just going to use a mind map in this bit. So again, it comes back down to the quality of the prompt. But if I said describe and generate a mind map of the Scrum framework, there you go. And what it will do in theory, he says in hope, so I'm doing a live demo. Perfect. So it's given me the sort of 3, 3, 5, 5. So it's given me all of the roles, the accountabilities, the responsibilities, the principles, the meeting ceremonies within the Scrum framework. As you can see here, it's really good, especially if you're doing any qualifications or training. Like you could do this with UX Double Diamond or engineering practices or whatever you're interested in. So you can see here, it's kind of generated all of the events. It's got all 5. Obviously, the sprint isn't an event in itself, which some people misinterpret. So I think that's quite a good testament to Miro AI, because if that wasn't there, it's potentially wrong, right? If you went into an exam or done your certifications. But it does a little bit more than that. So you can, for instance, say if I took the sprint retrospective, for instance, Miro AI. Let's take this one. There should be a bit, so you can expand with questions, ideas, and topics. For some reason, it doesn't like this particular one, so let me try and find one that it does like it. There you go, expand mind map. So it's probably got to do it on the first or second layer rather than the third. So say if we took principles, where's it gone again? It's disappeared. There it is, components. Let's just use this one. So you can expand the mind map with questions, ideas, or topics. So for instance, we did this, for instance. So it's a good way of just being able to launch stuff, and then you can kind of drill into it, and it's kind of giving me a breakdown of the sort of backlog, retrospectives, definition of done, burn down charts. So it's a really good sort of tool that I use for learning and just being able to map things out as well. And like I said, I occasionally use the flowchart feature. So if I've got like a storyboard, I would just literally put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or it should even be able to generate a flowchart for someone buying coffee. Let's test it. Okay, generate a diagram. And again, like these aren't going to be fully sort of outputs that you're going to just put into a sort of deck or a show and tell. But again, it gives you a start for 10. So for instance, here, if you take that storyboard that we looked at through that talk on Wednesday afternoon, so like entering a coffee shop, choosing the coffee type. So it kind of gives you that flow chart, but you can imagine how useful this is. So for instance, if I took my research synthesis and said, here's the user journey, and I converted that into a flowchart. Again, it gives you a bit of a basic for a storyboard. So my maps, flowcharts, awesome. One of the big benefits to Miro AI, I don't know if anyone that works on documents or presentations often, and you copy from Google and you get this horrible background in there. Maybe you don't have access to Adobe Photoshop or know some of the other workarounds that you potentially can do. So I use, as you can see, visuals a lot. Everything you see on this board is hand drawn from a lot of the prompts I've done. But I like to use things like dot voting counters. So say, for instance, this Dragon Ball, or even if I've just got an image that I want to put into a business case or a slide deck and I want it to overlap, that doesn't look the best, right? So what Miro AI can do, so again, if you select your object, Miro AI over here, and remove the background, and voila, there you can see I can overlap objects. So I would typically use something like this as like dot voting counters. So for instance, if you're in like a retrospective or a design sprint and you want people to provide an opinion on what they want to prioritize, so for instance they can sort of drag and drop these here, or so for instance I would do it like that. Or what I would then do, if you want to get your image out of Miro and to put it into your own text, there's two ways to do it. Again, select your image, you can download it, which I think is a bit of a faff. But the thing that a lot of people don't know is if you click on more and then copy as image, there you go, you can copy it that way. But then that also works on, so say for instance you wanted to shift, select the whole thing, copy as image. So if you copied that now, you wouldn't be able to put that into a deck or into like a client sort of document. So again, if you copy as image, there you go. So it's not an interactive one. So again, it's not a Miro AI bit, it's a bit of a Miro tip, but it's something I kind of learned the hard way. So hopefully that's helpful for someone. You can also use different types of images as well. So say for instance, there's a project I was working on the Met Office around flash flooding. So say if I just wanted some personas for flash flooding service, easy for me to say. So again, you can use the generate sticky prompt to give me some here. So here we've got local residents, we've got city planners, emergency responders. It's pretty accurate based on the typologies of that service actually. So say you select one of these here, Miro AI, and there's a few different bits we can do. So if you say if you wanted to have that conversational tone with Miro or any AI tool, you can set it. So if you click on get feedback and suggestions, maybe as a product leader, and it will generate some insights based on that.
Stephen,
Yes.
it might just be, can you zoom out slightly? Because I can't see the full.
Oh, what can you see, Jess? Can you see that okay?
It's only when you click on the arrow, like I can't see all the drop downs, if that makes sense.
Oh, so you can't see it there.
Yeah, it's almost like a bit zoomed in. Amazing.
Oh, no worries. There you go. So I'll use the left-hand side. That's really useful to note. I wasn't sure you could see that. So I'll take that back again. So yeah, so if you click on your poster, so again, I generate some ideas on the personas, but again, you could use this to generate images as well, which is quite useful. And then the last bit, so this is probably quite useful for anyone facilitating a retrospective, which is probably like a weekly, fortnightly thing for most people on the call, whether you're facilitating or participating. There's a few things you can do. This is just a dummy board out of the Miroverse. So again, hit the shift key and select. Come here. Sorry, I'm trying to do it slightly differently so people can see. So click on the dot.
I can't see that. Maybe that's me. I can't see this out of shot. Maybe it's just me.
Can other people see that? I can do it this way as well. You see that, Jess? It should be okay. So if you click on document, retrospective summary. Again, you're still going to want to do this as a team, but if you're a delivery manager or scrum master or agile coach, again, it just gives you a whistle-stop tour, or maybe you're just interested in some quick insights to feed back quickly. So again, you can kind of see here that this was the format the team used. These were the particular prompts in terms of what went well, continuous improvement angle, what the outcomes were, and the actions. So again, I typically do this on a lot of the sessions that I run, because it just gives me a really quick synthesis of the board, and it's pretty accurate as well, to be fair, because obviously it's using all of the Miro stuff that's built within the tool anyway. So that's quite a cool way of doing stuff. And I would typically just leave it there so the team can also come in. They're all editable, so if there's anything missing, or for instance, it's got anything wrong, you can just come in and delete a bullet point or add your own, which is quite good. But I think personally the document feature is probably the thing that I use the most. So I'm dyslexic, so sometimes I struggle. As you can see, I use a lot of visuals and everything, right? That's my superpower. Writing isn't. So the two things I normally use it for. So if I get like a load of week note updates, this is one I'm working on, Culture Connect. It's an open data project, and I get a load of updates like this from the team. And then I've got to try and write it into a week note, maybe on like 4 or 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. So again, I put that into Miro, click on Miro AI, and I'll do a custom prompt in this bit. So if you can see my screen on the left, I'm hoping you can. So I could just literally just say convert these updates into a week note, generate document, and obviously it's using those 4 objects. There you go. So it recognizes the week, tells you what we've done, where the research has been, what the development's been, some of the UX work that's been ongoing, and the research and user needs. So again, I wouldn't necessarily just copy this into an email and send it, but it's a really good start for 10 for me, just to be like, cool, it's using the same tone. Or potentially what I might want to do is potentially rewrite it for clarity, or even change the tone. So maybe I want it to be a little bit more friendly in this case. And you'll see here, Miro AI is thinking, and it'll give me an alternative version I can either accept or reject when it decides to stop thinking. There you go. So as you can see, the tone's a little bit more friendlier, and I can just literally lift and shift that, or if I don't like it, keep it as it is. So yeah, using documents is great. The only other thing I do is, if, like I said, I am dyslexic, so if I went into this prompt button here, I would literally just copy and paste my image, my text, and just be like, tidy up this email. Copy and paste it in, and then it would literally just do that sort of task for me, which is a bit of a lifesaver. And it doesn't do it in like the sort of ChatGPT, Gemini, some of the other tools where it puts like the Zs and the American spelling, which is quite nice. So that's Miro AI. That's probably the sort of key functionality that I'm aware of. Annoyingly, they did take away some really cool features that was user stories. So not that many people are using Miro for a Kanban board, but that was quite nice. So I'll just give you a bit of an example. Generate user stories for the flash flooding surface. So you could do this and it would actually physically create you a user story, whereas now what it's done is it allows you just to use it as sticky notes. Okay, doesn't like that one, but that was really cool. So it would kind of generate, I'll show you here, so click on change the type. It would generate a physical user story here. So I'm hoping they bring this back. And then when you click on Miro AI, they've taken it out now, but you could add acceptance criteria. So it was really useful for our product managers and business analysts to be like, okay, well, what's the start for 10 for some of the acceptance criteria here? So, and you could also put your definition of done in so that it would match that. But I don't know why they've taken it out. So there's obviously something broken in that, but hopefully that's a feature just to keep an eye on, or maybe Louis, Allgood, and the team can have a look at that. Maybe it's just not enabled for my workspace anymore, but worth having a look at, because that's the only other bit I'm aware of that's probably just in the continuous feedback loop with Miro. So I'm just going to show you 2 other quick tip tricks just whilst I'm here. So a lot of people say, I can't draw, I couldn't do this, I'm And fair enough, you can use Google Images. I've kind of shown you that tip on how to remove the background. But there's a really cool free tool. It's an add-in, so you'd have to get it added to your workspace, like so. It takes 2 seconds. Obviously, that would go to an administrator request at MOJ, and I think there's about 100 sort of visual facilitators, myself included, that provide free visuals to this tool. You can navigate to Drawify separately to download templates and stuff, but it's really useful just for things like this. So maybe you just wanted to put a prompt in, and you can kind of like just drag and drop visuals in. Like you can build retrospectives off there. So again, like if anyone's interested in that sort of visual element, it's quite a cool little tool, completely free, really safe, and you kind of overlap it. And like I said, they integrate really well on the Miro board. And then the other bit that I just want to show you really quickly was like building board games in Miro. So this was my Monopoly retrospective. Like feel free to reach out if you want a template of this. So there's a couple of things you can do. So there's an icon finder down here, images and icons, and that's given me these little Monopoly people. So that's my little game counter. So put that there, and I use this quite a lot for like team building, especially during lockdown. And what people like I've seen that tried to do something similar, they didn't have like virtual dice that they could use without navigating, but Miro does have sort of like I think like Miro AI developed this sort of dice tool. Here it is, generate dice. There you go, 6 sides, generate it. So you literally just drag and drop 4, and you can move along. So like, again, it's quite a nice little way just to sort of elevate your sort of visual facilitation, virtual facilitation skills. So I think that's everything I've got for you today. There's a few other ways that I kind of use Miro for sort of like, I call it like a sketching station. So like not everyone can use the prototyping kit or feels comfortable with pen and paper. So again, if you go to the tools, there's a nice little wireframing library here where people kind of like sketch out their ideas and thought processes. So like, I use this quite a lot for people like myself that think visually, to be able to go, right, what does that look like? So, and I typically put like some of the common sort of GovUK patterns that we're using, so people can literally just sort of drag and drop things and play around with it up here. So again, Miro can do quite a few different bits and pieces, and you can use Miro AI to generate images, or use prompts to be like, well, what else could go on this particular screen? So you can do that via sticky notes or document types. So that's everything I've got. Hopefully there's been a bit of chat in the chat bar, or some questions in the Q&A. So I'm sure me and Jess can take them. So yeah, thank you everyone.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Like, a lot of useful things to take away. A question we had was actually about the user stories and what data was used to create those, or whether the data was used.
Yes, weirdly enough, that was the only thing that I was trying to demo that just broke on Miro AI. So typical, right? So you have to give the prompt. So it wouldn't be, so say if I use that flash flooding service as an example, so I could say, please provide user stories based on this service, and Miro AI would try and fill in the gaps, being like, well, I think it's going to be this, but then you're going to need to be a bit more specific. So what I typically do is like, what user stories or activities would a sprint 0 look like, or an inception phase look like? And it would just give me like generic user stories, same as ChatGPT would. So it's not using.
Where's the data coming from for that? So you would have like stickies with information about flash flooding on your actual Miro board.
Yeah. So like, say I had that sort of like dummy research data, I could like select that and go, what's some user needs, or what's some user stories that you would get from that. But the annoying thing is that they generate it now as sticky notes rather than cards. So hopefully they bring that back. So that was probably the most useful bit about the user stories, is it would give you, as a user, give you your behavior-driven development writing, and then you could add the acceptance criteria as well. It'd be quite generic, but again, it gives you a start for 10, or gets you thinking.
Thank you so much. Another person was interested in the template you use for the board game. So, what would be the best way for them to maybe contact you?
I will put or Jess, maybe if you put mine in your email in the chat. I do a lot of thought leadership on LinkedIn, so if I don't annoy you with my content, I normally post a load of free stuff there. Happy to drop all of this stuff, like maybe Merso, John, if you send me like a blank Miro canvas from your workspace, I can just copy and paste it in, if that's useful.
Yeah, definitely. Another question that we have that might be a bit controversial is, do we have a universal pronunciation of Miro? I say Miro, but I don't know.
I say Miro, and I've actually been on. This is how controversial it gets, right? Like they used to send me like a load of free swag, so like I was half tempted just to be like, I don't work at Miro and just wear my Miro hoodie, but yeah, like even like all the Dutch folks there, they don't even like they don't have a universal saying. Like you're speaking to one person, they say Miro, and the next person says Miro. So I have no idea. I think it's just whatever rolls off the tongue easiest. So.
Yeah, so someone is saying that it is possibly named after a Spanish painter, Alistair Curtis. Do you know that for a fact? If you're still in the call?
No, I don't know that for a fact. I just made the association in my mind when I first saw the name Miro. I thought, oh, that's the name of a painter, and it's a big board. Maybe that's the association they're trying to create. So I've always called it Miro.
Ah, that's so interesting. That would make a lot of sense for a visual tool to be named after a painter.
Definitely, like they're quite like, a lot of the sort of Miro product folks. They're quite prominent on LinkedIn, so like, I can connect a few of you, or even if you just tag them, someone will reply. They've got a community forum. I think it's quite a nice way to get involved. So even if you build your own templates that you want to share, you can publish them to the Miroverse. They send you things like socks and mugs and hoodies and other goodies. So like they're quite a nice, welcoming community to get involved in. And maybe you can get that sort of 100% clarity on what on earth is it actually called, because yeah, I didn't get as far as that.
Absolutely. Another question we had was about the clusters. So, in order to make AI clusters, do we need to have clear data categories like colors or columns, tagging, etc.?
Yeah, so I don't think it does the best. I think essentially the way that I've seen it work anyway is that it does like a keyword analysis rather than really understand what the data is. I don't think it's at that stage where it can do that at the minute. I think it does it more on, as you saw, all these things said good, all these good things said brilliant, all these things said bad. So it does it more on sentiment rather than really understanding what it's doing. But that's why I use it as a start for 10, because I can go, here's all the positive vibes, don't need that. Or I could even just say, well, out of what percentage did people say good, lovely, brilliant? So yeah, I use it more of a bit of a Kickstarter than well, that's done my job for me. So it's not going to put any researchers out of business. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on that, Nicola. But yeah, I don't think it's smart enough yet to really understand what it's doing, just beyond almost doing like a control F absolutely rapidly, essentially.
Yes. Craig, would you like to come in on that? You have your hand up, I think.
I do. I've got a different question, though. It's not on what you just said. Is that okay to ask a different question?
Yeah.
I need to ask the annoying question of, so I'm a user researcher, and there's a lot of projects right now that are dealing with sensitive data. So it could be intelligence analysts, or it could be, there's like victims work that's going on right now. So that data is very sensitive. So
Yeah.
has this been assured in terms of security? So my initial thought is the data being used to train the algorithm? Or are the boundaries around the data that we're putting on? I mean, I know Miro is assured, security assured, but I'm not aware if the AI is assured. So
Yeah,
can
you're going to want
anybody?
to be.
Is what, sorry?
I think you're going to have to tread quite carefully with sensitive, especially with like the sort of Russian link. I'm sure other people probably explored it a lot more than me, but at the outset when I said that TPX are building impact AI, so that we wouldn't put that type of client data in there for that. Like, you can use it, as I've shown you, but we would probably only use our sort of internal tool that we're confident what's happening with that, and especially in the intelligence justice sort of remit. It's probably not the best place to go and select all, chucking all that data in there, because it would, I don't know what the processing is, but they do have those links. I haven't read them in its entirety. I'm sure other people have that are looking at this pilot within MOJ. It's got all like the legal, what's happening with the data, the principles. So I'll put them in the chat, and maybe someone else can have a look, or even use Miro AI to be like, what are you doing with this? And maybe it answers.
Yeah, I would assume we're getting clear guidance around that pilot then, so what we can do and what we can't. So
yeah, just to also mention, Louis Allgood, who is the senior product manager, who will be rolling out the pilot, is doing the DPIA for it, which is meant to be done when sensitive data is potentially going to be sort of used. So obviously, if you have any concerns, please do get in touch with him. My assumption would be that if it goes over the line, then it has been assured for sensitive data.
Okay, I know Louis, so I'll keep in touch with him.
That's
Thanks.
a good question, Craig.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have another question, John. This is more for you, and about the pilot. I think you've so John has included a link that you can sign up. So please check.
Just having a look at the link, because there's some weird, people can't seem to access it, so just bear with for a sec.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions that anyone might have? No?
This is a fun one for me then. Yeah, I just want to say thank you for welcoming me and Jess with very warm, welcoming arms. Yeah, what a way to spend Friday. Any questions spring to mind about Miro, agile delivery, UCD, feel free to reach out. I like chatting to people anyway. Yeah, and just thank you so much for listening to me today, and yeah, all the best for the rest of the day and the weekend.
Well, thank you. That was fascinating. So I took a lot of notes, and I can't wait to get my hands on this, so to try all that out and change the tone and also things like that. So yeah, will be so interesting. Thank you. I have another round of thank yous, because this is now the last session of our week-long conference. And yeah, really heartfelt thank yous from me and the other heads of our digital professions. So first of all, thank you to all of our fantastic speakers, our internal and external ones, who did some really brilliant, interesting, engaging, often unexpectedly entertaining sessions as well. So it was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you to all of our hosts and facilitators who made sure that everything went really as smoothly as possible. So yeah, thank you, guys. Massive thank you to our brilliant fast streamers, Emerso and JJ here, who lifted the majority of the conference organization and who are also now kind of experts in troubleshooting MS Teams. So we've learned a lot this week. Thank you, brilliant job done. Last but not least, thank you to our fantastic audience. Thank you for taking the time to join these sessions. And it was a real joy to see how engaged everyone was. There were so many questions in each session, so many connections that were being made between people who want to chat afterwards about something. So yeah, it was really great to see. Have we already dropped the link? We have not, I think. So there is now a link to a feedback form in the chat. If you could take a couple minutes, that would be super appreciated to give us a little bit of feedback on the whole conference, what went well and what didn't. Thank you all so much. Have a lovely weekend. I hope you enjoyed. And you will find the recordings in Know the Thing shortly, hopefully. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.